a playoff game.
Well, talking about the playoffs, 2 games ago, the Detroit Lions were going to be the number 3 seed in the NFC. Since then, they've lost 2 football games. They've gained 7 yards rushing. Now, you look at the rest of their schedule, this football team's going to play Green Bay twice, Dallas, and San Diego. They lead the league in sacks allowed with 43. They have 25 takeaways or giveaways. Now, that's about 4.5 sacks a game and about 3 turnovers a game. How are you going to win 10 games doing that, which was promised by John Kitna?
Well, what I'm saying, 3 more games yesterday, kick returns, caused one team to lose, the other team to win. We all agree, we've been in football, that an offense and defensive player needs 2 or 3 years to maximize his ability and start to go toward his potential. Well, if you're a backup player and you're a 2 or 3 year player, your salary now gets prohibitive. So those guys that could be core special teams players are now removed from the roster for economic reasons, and they infuse young guys onto their special teams. Young guys, inexperience, result in kickoff and punt and touchdown.
Boom. New England beat the Cowboys, Washington, and Buffalo by a combined score of like 156 to like 44, 40 or something.
They're pretty good.
I don't know.
Look, here's what I would say.
That's funny.
Because this, I came away with this last night, and I picked New England to get in the Super Bowl as I have lately. But I didn't know they'd be this good, like on September 1st. Oh my God! I mean, the best defensive team that I've seen in covering it now. I mean, we can go back to the Steelers before, be the '89 Niners. I know there were teams that scored more points, but I found them to be, you know what? They could score a touchdown at any time. The team that clobbered the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Tom. But this, all they do is score touchdowns every possession. How you get 600 points?
They're as good as I've seen. But I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm taking my 2 superstar pros here, and I'm putting up, you're on the punt team, and you're the L3 on kickoff coverage. Let's get going.
I like it.
Okay.
Well, and you know what? And if you're the Patriots, you got to cover a lot of kicks. We know that. And they have that covered too, by the way. Now let's send it out to 3 guys providing all of our trimmings here the Monday before Thanksgiving from Invesco Field. That'd be Stu, Steve, and Emmett. Happy Thanksgiving, fellas.
Boom, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. And as you mentioned, Boom, yes, a very balmy day. Got up to the mid-70s. Right now it's 69 degrees. And Boomer joked that it would snow tomorrow. Boom, the weather forecast tomorrow here in Denver does call for snow.
It was 80 today. It wasn't 73, it was 80.
Did you actually take the temperature?
There was no fooling 80. I had to take my shirt off for a little while.
All the Broncos can do with the win tonight is just get to 500 and grab a share of the lead in the AFC West. The Titans trying to win their 3rd straight road game on Monday Night Football. How do you guys see this game going down?
Well, think about the Broncos, their offseason, the things that they had to go through. Think about their injuries they've seen, and also the debacles at home against the Chargers and again on the road against the Lions. This was a team that was flat on its back, gets propped up, goes flat on its back. They're propped up again, and they can, to your point, they can take a lead in the division. I think the Broncos might have enough to start getting something going in December. Why not? If there's going to be a bad team that wins this division, Emmett, might as well be this bad team.
Yeah, it could be this team. And when you look at tonight's game, I see the night game as a defensive game between the Broncos and obviously the Titans. The Titans, to me, may have the better defense, but when I look at the Broncos, they match up very well against this Titan offense because the Titan offense is not that productive. Vince Young has struggled. He's not throwing the ball very well. The thing that they will lean on tonight is their running game. And when they do that, if I'm the Broncos, I'll forget playing cover 2. I'll play man-to-man with my 2 guys out here, my 2 shutdown corners, and then I will bring the 8th man in the box to slow down the run game and contain Vince Young.
Except in the 4th quarter, because do not let Vince Young get man-to-man in the 4th quarter if that game is tight. That'll be Mike Shanahan's biggest point, is that by halftime, guys, we want to lead. We're going to run the football because when we run it, we throw it. For some odd reason, when they do both, when they do one, they do both. When they don't run, they don't do either. So I think you look for a running game from the Broncos to get a lead and keep Vince Young from a 4th quarter comeback.
Don't sleep on Tennessee's running game or Lindell White, the 2nd-year guy. Handling his business. When he rushes for 100 yards, the Titans are 2-0, and he's kind of like playing a road game.
And he's coming back home, too, tonight.
Playing a road game at home. Playing high school ball, Littleton, Colorado. He's listed at 240.
He's 3.
He's listed.
He's 3.
He's about a biscuit away from 290.
The Titan defense has also been handling their business this year. They came into Week 11 ranked 2nd overall. In the last 3 weeks, they have just been hound dogging opposing quarterbacks. 13 sacks in those last 3 weeks. But But Michelle Tafoya covering both sidelines tonight. Why is Tennessee's defense lacking something for this game?
Because Jeff Fisher has decided to sit defensive tackle Albert Hainsworth. He's got 5 of the team's sacks this season, but he also has a right hamstring injury. Fisher told me he was reluctant to bring Hainsworth back too soon. He needs another week or so. So a big blow to that defense. Also, cornerback Nick Harper is out after suffering a concussion last week against Jacksonville. And by the way, a late scratch, right guard Benji Olsen will sit for the Titans as well. Now, Denver will be without running back Travis Henry. He is out with a knee injury. He is also awaiting NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell's ruling on the hearing that took place last Friday. The hearing was an appeal on a positive marijuana test. Obviously, Henry appealed that. We've heard that Mike Shanahan supported him staunchly, and we may know the outcome of that hearing as soon as tomorrow. A shot in the arm, however, for Denver because Pro Bowl safety John Lynch comes back. He missed 2 games with a pinched nerve in his neck. And on the other hand, wide receiver Javon Walker will miss his 8th consecutive game, Stuart, after having surgery on that knee.
All right, Michelle, we appreciate it. Lynch got hurt the last time we saw him on Monday night, 3 weeks ago. Last time we saw Keith Bullock on Monday night in the New Orleans game earlier this season, he had 3 interceptions in the game. Bullock ready to do some work tonight. And still to come on Monday Night Countdown, Jay Cutler's Broncos have struggled at home. Terrell Owens didn't struggle at all. He's playing so well, he makes the camera just freeze on him. 4 touchdowns in this game. Coming up next, Bill Parcells' reaction to T.O.'s ripping him next.
Monday Night Countdown, delivered by UPS. What can Brown do for you? And in part by Converse. The Wade 3 basketball shoe won't silence the doubters. You have to do that.
Yesterday, the Cowboys trying to go 9-1 and win 3 straight in the division. They won at Philly, they won at the Giants, and now could Terrell Owens and the Cowboys beat the Redskins. Tony Romo, T.O., touchdown. Tied the game at 7, a 4-yard touchdown. Romo pumping, firing, 31 yards, touchdown. T.O. 14-10. Cowboys lead the Redskins 3rd quarter. Wait, Romo ever give you a high five like that hurt you? Probably not, Coach, right? Then Romo back to throw. Each touchdown got longer. 46 yards to Owens. His 3rd, 21-13. Cowboys in a dunk. Then with the score 21-16, Dallas putting it away. Romo, Owens, 52 yards, tying Bullet Bob Hayes. Only 2 Cowboys that caught 4 touchdown passes in 1 game. After the game.
I mean, I'm just playing. I'm just elevating my game, you know. And last year it wasn't that way, you know. I can only contribute. The success that I'm having is, you know, we got a head coach that came in to change a lot of things. We got an offensive coordinator in Jason Garrett, you know, who's utilizing me in the best way. And, you know, and the things that I do within this offense, it allows other guys to be productive as well.
Who was the coach last year? I remember the coaching staff. You remember?
Him.
Who was it?
Him.
Yeah, I can't, you know, I'm getting old. I can't remember back that far.
What was that?
I agree with everything he said. They are using him better. He is playing better. I agree with him.
He's productive.
Look, he is productive. And T.O., Terrell Owens, or Terrell, whatever his name is, the player, he's doing what he's always done. He's playing terrific. The only thing he's not doing, he's not dropping the football. He had a league high, I think it was 23 to 25 drops last year, which was a lot. He was the fourth place in the league last year with the most balls thrown to him, which I believe was 153. So he's getting his opportunities this year. It looks different to everybody. Let me tell you real quick why. He's a 9-1 football team, and when you're winning, the perception is you're doing something different. When he was in Philadelphia on the Super Bowl ride, the perception was that he was doing something different. Last year's Dallas Cowboys, they were like this on a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. They was within 1 game of possibly playing in the NFC Championship game. No different to me. Same player. He may think he's playing different, same system, same everything.
I don't like it. He just talked for 15 seconds, and he used I or me 7 times. Not a whole lot has changed. Outstanding football team. He and Romo having a great year. They look like the team to beat. I have one word for you: Roy Williams in coverage. Because if I'm putting together a game plan, I am looking for some weakness. I'm trying to spot something we can take advantage of. That, to me, would be the area that I would be focused on.
The team's matured. It's a better team now than it was. No doubt about that. The offensive line is protecting the quarterback, and when they don't, the quarterback can get out of a little trouble, make some time to get the ball to the receivers. They got firepower at tight end. They got a couple good running backs. They got a good wide receiver. That's why they're 9-1.
They're 9-1.
Got a great punter, and a good young field goal kicker.
He's just plain folks, the young field goal kicker.
That's right.
I mean, in the 88-year history of the National Football League, we never had a day in which 2 different receivers caught 4 touchdown passes in a game. Theo did it, Randy Moss did it, and now, interesting, you forget the careers they've had. You don't forget it, but Terrell Owens passing Marvin Harrison, who hadn't played for a while. He's now 3rd all-time on touchdown catch list behind Jerry Rice and Chris Carter. Randy Moss is 5. 3 and 5, and by the way, T.O. passed, this is unbelievable, Jim Brown and Walter Payton on the all-time touchdown list yesterday. He's now 6th all-time. Moss is 11th. So really impressive, no matter what you think in the big picture. From receivers to a kick heard round the NFL world. And Mort, we bring you in now, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Certainly controversial finish to the Browns-Ravens yesterday. Field goal no good, then go to overtime. Browns beat Ravens. What's the NFL's reaction to the field goal that almost wasn't?
Well, the message that the NFL was trying to get out as soon as last night, right after the game, is that the referee, in this case, Pete Moreeeee, did not review the play with the replay assistant. In fact, he announced over the PA system they were going to take a look at the play. He went over to the replay booth. The replay assistant, Howard Slavin, told Moreeeee, "I can't show you this play." So he went back and talked to the 2 officials under the goalpost. One of them, the back judge, Keith Ferguson, felt more strongly that it did go through, and they got the call right. But procedurally, it was a mess. The Ravens had 20 or 23 players in the locker room, and they had to bring him back out. But the bottom line is they got it right. But Chris, I've talked to a member of the competition committee today, and he says there's no question in his mind that it will be reviewable next year. If a ball hits an upright, crossbar, the support beam, that play is going to end up being reviewable starting next season.
It has to be. If the goal of replays to get it right, they get it right.
You almost need to see that play to realize, ooh, we didn't have that covered.
Right, so that should be reviewable. The bottom line is they did get it right, although it was goofy. Another helping of Mort later in the show, pass the sweet potatoes. Still to come, the Jets threw off Big Ben's timing yesterday. How could the Steelers lose to a 1-8 team? And Rocky Mountain High, not for the Broncos this season. Why have they won only 3 of their last 10 at home? Altitude, what is it? They're down to 2,000 feet? We'll be back.
Welcome back to Monday Night Countdown, delivered by UPS.
I said Lindo White was listed at 240. He's actually listed at 235. Steve Young said he's a biscuit shy at 300.
Did I say that?
Yeah,
Somebody.
not that big, Rachel Nichols, with our team's Twin Report, but he is big in the game plan tonight.
Well, the Titans' game plan tonight is certainly to run, and then run the ball some more, and that is just fine with Lendell White. White is from Denver, and he actually scored 56 tickets to this game, and he's playing with some extra incentive. He's been told if the Titans win, he gets to stay in Denver an extra night. Now, helping him with his cause will be running back Chris Brown, who's returning from an ankle injury, and Coach Jeff Fisher told me that is huge because no one can squeeze through a crease quite like Brown. He told me that he just crunches his shoulders down there and that he almost dislocates him. Stewie said it's kind of like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon getting out of that straitjacket.
I remember that, and Mel was yelling Rachel. Can a brother get some ridiculous finishes? 21 days ago tonight, right here in Denver, Monday night, Broncos and Packers in overtime. Not for long. First play from scrimmage, Brett Favre to Greg Jennings. Holler! Game-winning touchdown. Packers won it 19-13. You know, this place used to be one of the most feared places to play here in Denver. Now Denver's turned into a home field disadvantage. Last 10 games at Invesco, they're 3-7, allowing 27 points per game. And, you know, since moving to Invesco in 2001, Denver's first 5 seasons, they were 31-9 here. Over the last 2 years, kids are just 6-7. right here at Invesco Field. Guys, why do the Broncos struggle here at home, and why do they struggle overall?
There's a lot of reasons, but you boil it all down. When you're at home and you have the crowd and you have that defensive line that's able to get off the ball that extra quick second, your defense should dominate at home. That's all the great teams have a defense at home. They give you that extra 7 to 10 points a game. That's not happening for the Broncos anymore. John Lynch has been hurt as of recently, but they're giving up way too many points at home. And when you don't pack your defense at home, Emmett, you're going to be in trouble.
Well, it's the one thing that we talked about a little bit yesterday. The question was, how can you derail the Patriots? It's the one thing that derails every team, and that is injuries. This Broncos team has been decimated with injuries, and the key injury to the offensive line has been Tom Neion, the center, the guy who controls what happens on that offensive line. And that has been a big issue for the Broncos, is injuries. And not only that, but when you're breaking in a brand new quarterback, a young quarterback, trying to get him up to speed so he can play at the level that you want him to play, that is a tough mix. And then to couple all that, you take it back to the offseason. They lost 2 football players to death. Now, trust me, that has an effect on your ball club throughout, from the top to the bottom, and they still have to overcome all of those things.
Yeah, you know, you talked about Jay Cutler. 2 of the 3 first-round draft pick quarterbacks from the class of 2006 in this game. Out of all of them, Matt Leinart is 7-9 as a starter. Jay Cutler is 6-8 as a starter. And the best one of all of them is Vince Young. Vince Young, 13-8 as a starter in the NFL. Interesting, though, his touchdown to interception ratio is the worst of all those. Coming up, should the Titans let Pac-Man Jones return to the team? Hear what our armchair GMs think about Pac-Man's future. Titans and Broncos on Monday Night Football.
GMC Defensive Player of the Week. Brought to you by GMC. Watch SportsCenter after the game for the GMC postgame and the Defensive Player of the Week nominees.
The defense never rests. The GMC Defensive Player of the Week nominees include Cardinals cornerback Antrell Roll. He picked off 3 passes, returned 2 for touchdowns in Arizona's win at Cincinnati. The Jets, Sean Ellis, 5 tackles, 2 sacks, key fumble recovery, and the Jets' upset of the Steelers. And Seahawks Patrick Kearney, 3 sacks, forced fumble that helped secure a win over the Chicago Bears. Tune into SportsCenter to vote after the game. From the best defense to a pair of players on the defensive lately, Michael Vick is in jail. Today, he voluntarily surrendered to U.S. Marshals and will begin serving his prison term. This before a sentencing hearing on December 10th, so whatever prison time he might receive will potentially end earlier. Now to Adam Pac-Man Jones, Tennessee, who last week agreed to a plea deal that reduced felony charges to a gross misdemeanor. Jones received 1-year probation in return for his testimony in a Las Vegas strip club shooting last February. This summer, Commissioner Roger Goodell suspended Jones for the season. We bring Mort in now. What's the latest, Mort, on Pac-Man's future in the NFL?
You know, he does get to start reporting to the Tennessee Titans facility after the season, but the commissioner, Roger Goodell, he's made it clear that Pac-Man still has to clear up a case in Georgia, which is a little bit of a tricky case that he has lingering here, and then he has to stay out of trouble before the commissioner would consider reinstating him, and that's sometimes a tall order for Pac-Man Jones. So he has an outside chance, I think, to get reinstated, but clearly the case in Georgia is troubling. As far as the Tennessee Titans go, you know, Jeff Fisher has said, hey, we've moved on. You know, they struck gold with a late-round pick in Cortland Finnegan last year. They have Nick Harper. They drafted Michael Griffin. So it appears they've moved on, but they haven't cut him loose because, one, they have to go after his money a little bit later, and they might, in fact, trade him if they don't bring him back. Players in the locker room are asking that they bring him back.
All right, Mort, thank you. Obviously, plenty more with you as we go on to the show. Bill, should Tennessee consider bringing him back?
Oh, I think Tennessee will definitely consider bringing him back. I don't think there's any doubt about it. They have a lot invested in this player. He's a pretty good player. I think they'll consider it. I think their actions will be a real strong indicator about the guy, though. Now, if I separate myself from that and put on my general manager's hat for a second, he had problems in college, and he's had problems in the pros. I'd adhere to the old past performance equals future achievement. I think I'd have to pass. I'd let someone else do it.
Coach, I agree. And I think when you start looking at somebody's history, sometimes it's etched in stone by the time you get to be an adult. And the only thing I know, it's not illegal. There's no rule or regulation that was broken. But when I think about his decision making, and I find that you went to a strip club the night before you were going to meet with the commissioner to talk about your football future, then I think that decision making, you got some dollars to go. But the fact is that I would question bringing in a player like that to a team that I was in charge of.
Well, Tom and Coach, I would take him back. I would. I think that when you look at it, if he shows me significant progress toward changing his ways and doing things different, fitting into what we're trying to do as an organization, then I have to give the player a second chance. That's what it's all about. It's about second chances. I can go down a long list of players, athletes and non-athletes, that have got second chances. So I wouldn't just condemn the guy because some mistakes were made. I have to give him that chance, and that's just me.
I have to do what's best for my football. You know, I will say this: he got a haircut. It's a step. He got a haircut.
You know, Jeff Fisher, and it's not Jeff's decision alone, but certainly I would say he's the big one here. Jeff is not afraid to take some chances. You can see some of the players on the roster of Tennessee, but I'm not saying reckless chances. His track record has been pretty good with some players that other teams wouldn't take. So they'll consider it. Like you said, they'll know more. He knew what he was getting when he drafted him. This isn't news. I think they'll consider it, and Pac-Man's very lucky that Jeff Fisher will consider it, but we'll see. Still to come, the Packers are up to their best start since Vince Lombardi roamed the sidelines. This is an NFC team now the second best in football, and Vince Young on Vince Young. Hear what he just can't live without on game day. Plenty of Vince sanity straight ahead. We'll be back.
Whiteboard Breakdown, delivered by UPS. What can Brown do for you?
We can't go to Denver without looking at the Ring of Fame. Tom Jackson, number 57, 14 seasons in Denver. Only John Elway played more games for the Denver Broncos. You represented that franchise beautifully. You represented it well, and that's nice to see it.
Very proud to have my name up there, and very proud to have it up there beside John.
Yep, well, certainly deservedly so.
Something that feels good about that.
I know it's quite a segue here. Not quite Al Wilson a couple of the last year, but now we go to our UPS whiteboard, a different sort of immortality. T.O. Redskins secondary beat 4 different backs on the patterns. What happened yesterday, Tom?
Well, I want to do for our fans, describe cover 2. You hear so much about it. It's such a basic foundation of defense in the National Football League. So we wanted to take a look at cover 2 and what it really means as you watch people play it. The first play we're going to see the Dallas Cowboys run is very well conceived. First, you put T.O. in motion. He ends up in the slot, but it's very difficult to get a bump on him. Normally in a cover 2, you try to chase down the middle of the field. He dipped inside. The linebacker dipped with him. He makes what we call a quick turn to get back to him. T.O. has now gone by. The other part of cover 2 is more of a base foundation. I want the corner to get a bump on him or force him to release inside. Sean Springs has his eyes back in the backfield, even though nothing's threatening him, and the safety is going to be that one step late because you didn't make him release inside or slow his release. Here from the end zone angle, you can see Springs' eyes in the backfield. The safety just a little bit late. T.O. is off to the races for his 4th touchdown. The thing you have to realize is, as you're watching that, is that Springs was looking at him catch that 4th touchdown. You would have thought that his full attention would have been on T.O. although I have to remind myself that Sean Springs' dad is in the hospital, he's in a coma. Everybody has a different reaction to that kind of stress, and certainly his head may have not been completely on the football field yesterday,
Right.
and understandably so.
Nearby in Dallas.
Absolutely.
outside of Dallas,
Absolutely.
Ron Springs, the Cowboy player, during some of their glory years. Let's head back to Denver. We take a look at Jay Cutler warming up that rocket arm of his. What damage can he do tonight in the pocket or maybe outside of it? Let's head back out to Denver to a man who has Pikes Peak. Not to mention the Broncos in his sights. Ed Werder with the Teams at 20 report on the home team. Good evening, Ed. Take a deep breath. The altitude, careful.
Good evening, Boomer. You know, Broncos coach Mike Shanahan told me that when running back Travis Henry tested positive for trace amounts of marijuana in September, that the player went directly to Shanahan's house and offered to submit to a lie detector and hair follicle test to prove his innocence. Shanahan told me that there's two things that a person who tests positive for marijuana does not want to do. They don't want to take a hair follicle test, and they don't want to take a lie detector test. Well, Henry passed both. And while I've been told that the Broncos say there is, quote, a very good chance that he'll avoid a suspension from NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Shanahan told me that he is not trying to take the commissioner on this issue. Mort, he actually said, quote, I have the utmost confidence that Roger Goodell will do what's right for the NFL and what's fair for the player.
Well, and Commissioner Goodell was not real happy with Shanahan's public defense of Henry. And I don't know if he had a phone conversation with Shanahan, but I know that Goodell was not happy. And one reason why is that Shanahan divulged other details. For one, the hair follicles is not part of the process with the substance abuse testing or the appeal process. The other thing is he revealed to the media that Henry had a test of 21 nanograms of marijuana in his urine. The league threshold is 15 nanograms, but Shanahan pointed out that most states use 25 as nanograms. So the details of all that test did not please the commissioner. Henry had his appeal hearing on Friday in Phoenix, Arizona. I think a decision could come down as early as Tuesday, no later than next week. And I kind of think it'll go the other way, Boomer, to be honest with you, that in fact he will lose the appeal and end up with a year suspension, but that remains to be seen.
Well, as you point out, we ought to find out quickly more. Move on to college football, because today Lloyd Carr, 13 years at Michigan, head coach, resigned. Are there any, and this is quick now, but any NFL names high on the list of potential replacements? You know how all the names float around. Anything from the NFL?
Well, the names are floating around, but no, the names that have floated around were John Gruden of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Bobby Petrino of the Atlanta Falcons. But you look at Gruden, his name was linked to the Notre Dame job a few years ago when he was in Oakland. Nothing came of that. Ask Keyshawn how John Gruden would do with academic problems, recruiting, homesick freshmen, mom and dads complaining about playtime and what have you. John Gruden's not going to do it. Bobby Petrino now, on the other hand, has made a pretty good living at the college game. But I'm told by a league source that the Atlanta Falcons took went to great lengths to protect themselves in the contract with Petrino. He's making $4.5 million there with the Falcons, that they even have clauses that provide injunctive relief for the team should he leave. And Petrino's name has not really surfaced in this job for Michigan, nor has Gruden, but inevitably they'll float out there.
All right, Mort, thank you very much. This sad note to pass along to everybody tonight. The National Football League lost a legend today, a month after the Packers family mourned the death of Max McGee. Another member of their storied past died today. Former Packers and Philadelphia Eagles center Jim Ringo passed away at the age of 75. Ringo was drafted by Green Bay out of Syracuse. In 1953, became part of Vince Lombardi's championship teams, 1961 and 1962. A year later, he was traded to Philadelphia. Ringo was voted at center to 10 Pro Bowls, was chosen for the NFL's all-decade team of the 60s, was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1981. Our condolences to the family of Jim Ringo. Still ahead on this program, the man with the golden leg has gone cold. With Adam Vinatieri's struggles forced Tony Dungy to coach differently. And no Pac-Man, no problem when you clash with the Titans. Why you need to know more about Tennessee's tenacious defense. All that and more coming up.
You're going to be tired of me.
Here we are with Mike Ditka and Bill Parcells. Again, guys, Michael Vick went to prison today, but Bobby Petrino, the coach of the Falcons, seems like a prisoner to his quarterback situation. Joey Harrington had won 2 straight games. Byron Leftwich coming off ankle surgery, and yet he went with Leftwich against the Buccaneers, and they lost a game. If they had beaten the Buccaneers on Sunday, they had a chance to get in that NFC South race again.
Well, you know, I only have one opinion. I don't know about Petrino, but I'm just saying, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Now, I'm not saying that one's better than the other. I'm just saying you create some momentum. Your football team starts believing. You got a 2-game winning streak. When's the last time Atlanta had a 2-game winning streak? You stay with the guy that you're winning with. You don't come in and put the other guy in, because I think you're firmly convinced now the other guy's not the answer.
Hey, like Mike said, I think when you're a new head coach like Petrino is, it's important to get your program credibility, and it looked like they were kind of on the way to doing that. So, to me, there could only be 2 things that could cause that change to be made. One, they're trying to evaluate Leftwich for next year to see what they got there, and so that as they go forward. Or 2, even though they were winning, they still didn't like what they saw from Harrington.
Now, is it more important to evaluate Leftwich than it is to win a football game?
I don't think it is right now. I think, first of all, when you brought Leftwich in there, you had a pretty good idea of what he is, or you shouldn't have brought him in there in the first place. You know what he is. He's got a big wind-up, you know. He's a big kid. He can throw the ball pretty well. But, you know, has he won? No. Jack Del Rio got rid of him. I don't know why you want to pick up discards.
Hey, I think he's right. I think it was an unusual situation, and the more you start putting this information together, the more you got to think, hey, he just didn't like what he's seeing from Harrington.
Well, they're going to evaluate the video, the game tape today before they make a decision for Thursday night's game. They play the Indianapolis Colts on Thursday night at home. Let's move to the Indianapolis Colts. Speaking of them, Adam Vinatieri has hit the worst slump of his career. Does Tony Dungy have to coach differently right now because of the slump that Vinatieri's going through?
Well, I don't think he coached differently Sunday. I think he was just trying to get the clock down to nothing so he didn't have to kick off and give them the opportunity to play. But I know that's an awful feeling as a coach when you've got a field goal kicker that you've put out there, and now you're starting to see that inconsistency. So now you start thinking, I got to get the ball a little bit closer. And, when you start hearing, put it on the right hash, put it on the left hash, that's when you know you're in real trouble, when those kickers start asking for that.
Well, I've gone through it. I mean, we've all gone through it. Bill and I've had a kid miss 4. But, 4 in a game, and, the 5th one is the one that would have won the game for us, and so I walked away, but he made it. He said, you wouldn't even watch. I said, no, I couldn't bear to watch. I mean, you already missed 4 you should have made. Now you finally make the one to win the game for. But that's the way it was. I mean, it's tough. These kids, it's the easiest thing, it's hit or miss. And I know they're good at what they do, but still, when they miss, it's tough.
But is it like a golfer who all of a sudden loses his stroke?
It's not, I don't know whether the analogies, you can say whatever you want to say. There is a psychological dynamic that comes into play. And
if you hook the ball, then you try to block it a little bit and fade it. If you fade it, then you try to. That's what happens. He blocked one, it went to the right, then he hooked the next 2.
Overcompensated.
Yep. Do you believe in talking to your kickers before they go out there and kick one?
Do I believe in talking to them? Yeah, I believe in asking them, can you make it from here? Or if not, I'm going to try to get it closer.
If they hesitate, what happens?
Well, if they hesitate, then you probably punt.
Okay. All right, that's it for this week.
About an hour and 20 minutes ago, Tennessee D lineman Albert Haynesworth came out to test his leg, but as Michelle Tafoya reported at the top of the show, Haynesworth will not play tonight. Now, before last week, Tennessee had only allowed 66 yards rushing a game, tops in the NFL. That's playing with Haynesworth. Last week, without him, Jacksonville lit them kids up. $166 on the ground. Without Albert tonight, how can Tennessee change that?
Well, I'll tell you what, they're still a solid football team. You look at what they've done over the last 12 months. They were the worst defense in the league last year, and now they're in the top 5. They've given up the fewest trips into the red zone of any team in the league. That includes the Patriots. This is a team that is not bend but not break. They don't bend at all, and that is why they're successful right now. Give all the credit to Vince Young in the 4th quarter, but this team is doing exactly what the defense is doing, what Jeff Fisher's asked them to do. Keep it close. We have a young quarterback. He's not going to be able to throw the ball over the field all game. Keep it close in the 4th quarter and let Vince Young run around, and we can win some football games, and that defense has made remarkable treatment. Albert Haynesworth leaving the field today will hurt them, but this defense, I don't know exactly what the biggest difference is, but it's the reason why the Titans are in the hunt.
Well, what I tell you, what I like about this defense is the guy by the name of Kyle Vanden Bosch. I had the luxury and the pleasure and the distinct honor to play with this guy. This guy come off of 2 knee surgeries when I was with the Arizona Cardinals, and he recovered from both of those knee surgeries. And as you watch this guy play tonight, you're gonna see an individual that has a motor of any car and that can run with any football player on that field tonight. This guy plays full tilt football. He is the ideal football player. When you talk about throwback football players, he's one of those guys. This defense feeds off of that energy. He brings it. He's going to be after the quarterback until the whistle blows. I've never seen a guy practice or play as hard as Kyle Vanden Bosch.
And anytime you talk about Titans defense, you've got to mention Keith Bullock as well. This is a team that has allowed 11 touchdowns in 9 games. That's exactly what you can ask for any defense, about a touchdown a game. So if you're Mike Shanahan tonight, you're saying, hey, we need 3 touchdowns, and I think we can beat this football team. I think that's the story of this team is the ability to score 3 touchdowns to the Broncos.
Stuart, one thing about Kyle Vanden Bosch, I mean, when I say any guy, Michael Irvin was a great practice football player. He was a great football player. This kid here has not had the chance to show everybody how much of a football player he can become. But when it comes down to having that energy to get to that quarterback, he's the guy that you want on the football field.
One of the reasons Tennessee needs a tight defense is because, like Steve mentioned, their young quarterback, Vince Young, in the last almost 2 months, Vince Young has just thrown 1 touchdown pass. Since September 24th, just 1. The same time, Tom Brady's thrown 28 since September 24th, including 5 more yesterday. Still ahead on Monday Night Countdown. He's got 38 so far total this year. Have we ever seen a quarterback play better than Tom Brady is playing right now? And how does one of the best corners in the game spend his day? We're going to hang with Dre Bly, Tar Heel family man, when Monday Night Countdown continues right after this.
Welcome back to Monday Night Countdown, delivered by UPS.
All right, we've had the boiling point. Now time to read and react. We start with just another day at the office for the best